Hello everyone. For those that don't know me, my name is Kate. I'm a cosplayer. I recently finished up a costume for Alina Starkov from the Shadow and Bone book series that just came out on Netflix. It's absolutely incredible. I binge watched it this weekend. If you need something to watch, I highly recommend it. Although I did do a photo shoot for Alina recently, I wanted to go ahead and do another quick one, mostly to get some video footage for a competition I'm going to be entering here shortly, as well as get a couple of good back shots of the costume, because it's always important to have a 360 view to show pretty much anyone who might be interested. And so yeah, I have never done this before. I figured it would be kind of fun to film and talk about my makeup process just a little bit. I am by no means a makeup artist. This is not scripted in any way, so it's going to be very off the cuff, very kind of stream of consciousness, I guess. So yeah, I guess let's go ahead and get started. So at this point, I have already washed my face. Yesterday, I shaved my eyebrows a little bit, just to give it a little bit of a cleaner shape. I have very thick eyebrows, so in order to make sure that I have a more delicate kind of look, I guess, for Alina, I would rather shave them a little bit shorter. And that's just a personal thing, really. So first things first, you always want to go ahead and start with a wig cap. And then just as a sidebar, this isn't by any means a tutorial or anything like that. I'm going to be talking about my process and kind of what I do and why I choose to do it. But it's not going to be a step-by-step kind of thing. Like I said, it is largely going to be just me talking about what I want to do and why I'm doing it, and then showing you, I guess. As of the beginning of this filming, I don't know whether or not I'm going to do a time lapse of the entire look or if I'm just going to talk my way through the entire thing, so I guess we'll find out. So yeah, like I said, wig cap first. I have pretty short hair, luckily, so I don't need to worry too much about little bits and bobs kind of sticking out everywhere or anything like that. Just kind of need to get it as smooth as possible, especially because it is a white wig that I'm going to be wearing. And this wig cap is technically on backwards, but I don't really care all that much. It's not going to be visible, so I don't worry about little things like that. If I was wearing a lace front or something that required it to be super smooth through the front, then I would probably just take off the wig cap and make sure that it's on the right way. But for this, it doesn't really matter to me. Okay, so quick little glimpse at my supplies here. So here we have the products I'll be using. I haven't really curated much in the way of what I would consider a makeup collection. So a lot of this is stuff that has been purchased in the past and will be used for this, as well as many other looks that I have. But here's what I have pulled for Alina. So like I mentioned, I have not ever been trained in makeup or anything like that. So whether or not this process is technically correct, I mean, that if it works for me, it works for me. If a different process works for you, great. I'm just going to go ahead and take you through what I do for my makeup. So I always start with a green concealer for redness reducing. I have, a condition called rosacea. It just means that the blood vessels through certain parts of my body, primarily my cheeks, my chin a little bit, and through my eyebrows occasionally, are a little more inflamed, a little redder than usual, as you can see here. This is a makeup-free face. I just happen to have redder than normal cheeks, and so the redness reducer really helps with getting rid of anything like that. So I just apply a little bit through some of the largest and most intensely red portions of my face. And from what I understand, you're probably supposed to do this either over foundation or some kind of base layer. But like I said, I don't really bother with it because my skin is already decently nice and smooth. I don't worry about adding in any extra layers than I absolutely have to. So then I go ahead and take my little brush, or sponge, I guess is what it's actually called. Sponge it in. And I'm not going for complete reduction. As you can see, kind of, instead of getting rid of the redness completely, it actually gives it a little bit of a purpley kind of neutral cool tone, which is a little bit easier for me to cover with my foundation. So that is why I don't add more than I absolutely must. I'm not looking for a perfectly flawless application here. If it is a little red still underneath my foundation, then that's perfectly fine. I don't usually utilize blush in any way, just because I don't know, I just never really felt the need to add blush to my face, probably because of my rosacea. And so because of that, I just leave it a little redder underneath, and then I have a natural blush, which is fantastic because it's one less layer to put on my face. Okay, so with that done, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next step, which is the actual foundation. So I utilize it, Bye Bye Foundation. After doing a little bit of research into this company is actually designed by people who have rosacea, and so I thought it would be a perfect fit. I'm actually not entirely sure what my shade is. I'd have to find the box. But either way, regardless of what the shade is, I don't add a whole lot of foundation. I just kind of dab it in a couple of spots across the forehead, along the jawline, and a little bit more on the tip of my nose, just to try and get a nice even bit of coverage. I also do not have prescription contacts that I wear for Alina, so at the moment, everything I do with her is blind. I'm not super blind without glasses or prescription lenses or contacts or anything like that, but it does make it really fun when it comes to posing and that kind of thing. I've kind of taught myself to be body aware. I'm still not super good at it. But with makeup and stuff, it just means I have to get really close to the mirror in order to keep everything smooth. Looks like there's a couple spots that I need a little bit more, just to make it as even as possible. Go ahead and just add a little bit more in a couple spots, and then we'll be good to move on to the next step. Normally I listen to music and stuff while I'm getting ready, to kind of put me in the mood and really get me just character inspired. You know, I do have a playlist for Alina. I have a couple of other playlists that I've created on Spotify for various characters in Shadow and Bone. Just this morning I was actually listening to the Netflix Shadow and Bone soundtrack, which is phenomenal. They really did an incredible job with the music and the atmosphere in this. But I didn't want to compete with any music as I was doing this. I wanted to make sure that you could actually hear me, especially because this is my first time doing anything like this. It'd be really awkward if I spent all this time doing this makeup in this video for you guys, only for you not to be able to hear me. Oh, and today I'm wearing these earrings. They're purchased from Etsy. They're actually an early birthday gift from my wife. They are independently created inspired by Alina Starkov, the Sun Summoner. I believe the Etsy shop is called A Touch of Charm. I don't fully remember. I'll go ahead and drop the link below, because I think it's really important to try and support independent creators, especially right now. And these earrings are just, I mean, look at them. They're just absolutely beautiful. They feature a gold stone and then a blue stone. It looks black here in the flash. You can kind of see that it's blue. And it's just this absolutely super lightweight stud earring that I could not be happier wearing this. It's really hard to see them when I'm all dressed up and stuff because the wig is so long. But it helps me get into character. It helps me really kind of pull Alina through completely in a 360-degree look. Speaking of 360-degree looks, I'm actually wearing Crooked Kingdom socks right now. So that just kind of goes to show how much I really like dressing from top to bottom for a character, even if it's not completely necessary, because no one's going to see these Crooked Kingdom socks. Okay, next up, I usually go for the eyes. I usually kind of skip and let the foundation settle on my skin before I go into any kind of contouring or highlighter or anything like that. So I do use an anti-crease primer because of the shape of my eyes. I do have a pretty deep crease through here, very big, very wide eyes. So Too Faced is the way to go for this, in my opinion. It's just, I mean, I got a sample of it a while ago, like many years ago, and it has not failed me since. So I just went ahead and kept using what I know would work really well. I tend to apply the primer all over my eye, including a little bit underneath, because I mean, I get really creative with my looks, I think, and sometimes that involves doing some under eye eyeshadow, even if it's just for a little pop of brightness or something like that. A lot of my makeup, I very rarely recreate looks previously. These are all makeups that I have pulled aside for my previous look that I did for Alina. But I'm actually trying something a little bit different today, so you guys can see kind of my creative process and see how I get from point A to point B, how I adjust makeup as I go. I try as hard as I can not to just take off a look if I'm not happy with it, because then I have to wait for makeup remover to dry and I have to go in again with the primer, and it's just a huge mess, and it's not something that I really want to deal with. Okay, so to start with, I'm going to go ahead and use the Soft Glam palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills as my base. This is one of my favorite palettes from them, and sorry, my cat's trying to get something on top of the dresser. And they have a really nice color called Tempera that is just this beautiful light base coat that I think is perfect to go in, just to give a nice little light canvas to start with. I tend to bring it up pretty high, but I don't apply it as heavily to the brow line, just to smooth it out. So I don't like any sharp lines in my eyeliner, really. I guess you could say I almost overblend a lot of the stuff that I do because I like a more subtle look, at least as far as that goes. You know, I'm not really into doing big cut creases or anything like that. Just coming in with a little bit more of the tempera underneath to help brighten up my eyes. Not that they need to be brightened up too much, but it's always good just to have a little bit extra down there, I think. I have a mirror right next to me here on the side, so anytime I kind of dip out of the way, it's just so I can get a nice close look at what I'm doing so it doesn't look good from far away, and then become a hot unblended mess when you get a nice close-up look to it. So my apologies for not being able to show you kind of my checkup process. I actually am still trying to figure out a good setup for this kind of thing. So what I currently have is working rather well, but ideally I'll be able to come up with something soon that gives you a better look at my entire space, which is very small, so that might be a little tricky. Hydration is very important. I talk a lot, and it's become a habit of me to keep almost full water bottle pretty much on me 24/7, so that if I talk myself dry, which I often do, I can replenish nice and easy. Okay, so that was going in with Tempera. I'm going to go ahead and switch brushes here just for something a little bit tighter. And then I'm going to go ahead and come in with a little bit of one of these colors here. So you have orange soda at the top and then burnt orange at the bottom. So I'm going to use a little bit of orange soda to start with, just to give my eye a little bit of a shape without it being super dark or super intense. It's a very pretty shade when it goes on, actually. I just like all the shades of this, to be honest. And this is something that I apply a little bit to my lid, but mostly just above the crease, in kind of the brow area, to help make my eye pop, which I'm going to be saying that a lot. I don't really have a lot of terminology knowledge, I guess, so I apologize in advance for the constant repetition of phrases that I will be using. Hopefully it's not too annoying to you guys. Okay, let me find a nice brush just to kind of blend it out. So you can see I've added a little bit of orange soda through here, just for a light shade. Then I'm going to go ahead and go in with burnt orange, which is the shade that I showed you earlier. It's just a hint darker. And it's going to go right along the same spot, but a little less. Looks very fiery. I had used a third palette, so today I'm only going to be using 2 for my eyes. I had pulled out Modern Renaissance, also by Anastasia Beverly Hills, last time I did it, but I kind of want to go for a slightly simpler look here, using just this palette as well as a Huda Beauty Desert Dusk, which has some absolutely incredibly glittery eyeshadows. This one also has some pretty good ones, but again, I'm not trying to overload with a lot of glitter and a lot of really intense look. So next I'm actually going to be adding this color Glistening here, right there. Glistening and Fairy are 2 of my favorite golds. Glistening is a little bit more of a, it's almost like if you just dumped a bunch of gold glitter into the tempera shade, so it's a little less bright than the Fairy, which is more of a straight gold. Very pretty again, just not quite what I'm looking for. And I'm actually just going to brush this Glistening directly across my lid. Just like that. So it's really easy, just try not to keep my mouth open directly when I'm facing the camera, as I immediately open my mouth again. Just blend it out a little bit, nothing too wild there. And that's pretty much the base that I want to go with here. So it's nothing too intense. 3 simple shades all from the same palette. Anytime I try to do a simple look like this, I definitely try to log it in my brain, just because it's easier if you're going to a convention or something, to know as much as you can about what you want to do with your makeup, so that you can pack it without having to pack every single bit of makeup or palette that you own. I try to pack as lightly as possible outside of the costumes, just because staying in a hotel room with a bunch of other cosplayers, things can get crazy, and it's not something I ever want to make more difficult for myself or others. So once I'm done with that, now I'm going to go ahead and pull open my Huda Beauty. Again, beautiful shades, lots of sparkle. This is actually a very versatile palette because it has a lot of really nice matte colors, as well as just sparkles up the wazoo. Cosmo and Twilight in particular. Twilight's this beautiful red purple shift, and Cosmo is just an intense, like, dark orange glitter that's just absolutely crazy with how just how much glitter it is in there. I'm going to be using 2 shades from this, primarily Nefertiti and Cashmere. Nefertiti is a slightly more intense gold, and Cashmere has actually kind of a light ivory kind of glitter to it. I'm just going to tap that just a little bit along, again, my lash line. As you can see, it pretty much immediately just kind of adds another layer of bright sparkle. And then Nefertiti, I'm going to go ahead and load a little bit more onto my brush. Just kind of brush it along here so you can see immediately all that sparkle. I love sparkly eyes. It's one of my favorite makeup looks. I will do it pretty much anytime I get a chance to, as long as I have the proper tools for it. By proper tools, I mostly mean the shades that I imagine fit the character. So characters like Nyx from Hades, I have a slightly more mature kind of eye makeup for her, but it does have sparkle. It's just a darker sparkle. So I'm going to take a little bit of Nefertiti here, actually, just along my bottom lid, just for a little extra glitz. Again, nothing super obvious. It actually brushes down a lot and sheds a bit so that it turns into a bit of a highlighter. Just right along here, you can kind of see it in the video, just from where the glitter sheds down. And honestly, I have no problem with glitter shed. I mean, I get why a lot of people don't like glitter shed because it can make a look, I guess, messy. Honestly, I think the more sparkle, the better. I usually add a whole bunch of highlighter as it is, so just having that little extra bit right around my eyes, no problem here. So that pretty much covers what I wanted to do today for my eyeshadow. And so with that done, I'm going to go ahead and again switch around and do my contour. So for contour, I go with Too Faced Cocoa. I actually need to get another kit of this because, as you can see, I don't use the dark cocoa a whole lot because I am fairly pale and light-skinned. So the two colors that I use mostly are the light cocoa for highlighting, and then this one here, the medium cocoa, for my actual contour. And I use it frequently enough, and my wife also uses it to the point where we have worn out the center of the medium cocoa color. So I always go from my hairline just along my jaw, not my jaw, my cheekbone, just easy, and I brush it further back. You can kind of see through here, and then I'll do the same thing on the other side. Starting it thicker and then bringing it narrower. I have a very round face, so I don't do a whole lot of contouring just because I feel like it could make it look very artificial. Really what I just try to do with my contouring is emphasize the shape of the cheekbones that are there, so I don't go super dark, which is why I don't use the dark cocoa a lot. Just enough to help my face have a little bit more shape to it, especially because my Alina wig has these long pieces that hang down in front. If I didn't have a little bit of contour there, it would make me look extremely round-faced, which I am, but you know, you want a little bit of contour and angle to make things look good. And then this is a technique I learned when I was cross-playing a lot as male characters. And so I actually just run a little bit of contour under my jawline. It's not a lot. I tend to blow it out so that it's a very light shade. Just kind of reading it along here. And that just emphasizes my jaw a bit more. I have a round face, but a fairly square jaw. So I just find that it helps really emphasize those lines. Maybe not so much in video, but it looks really good in pictures. So if I'm going for a really sharp-faced character, I will often shade through here as well along my temples, sometimes under my eyes. But I don't really want a super sharp look for Alina. I prefer a softer, just gentler look all around. So that covers it for contouring. I don't bother with the lighter shade light cocoa for highlight. I prefer just going straight to the sparkly source. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and do some eyeliner here. So this is my go-to eyeliner lately. It's the Hip Dot My Chemical Romance crossover team up. I don't remember the actual term for it. And it's absolutely amazing. Beforehand, I was using the Rosa Versailles makeup line because those eyeliners were super sharp and super fantastic. I picked up a couple of them when I was honeymooning in Japan a couple years ago, and it's honestly so much better than a lot of the eyeliners that I get here stateside. So, excuse me. But this one in particular, I really, really love. I love that it has both a thick and a thin side. I almost never use the thick side, but the thin side is going to be perfect for what I'm going for here. So whenever I start doing my eyeliner, I'm going to have to do this in the side window here. So I'm just going to kind of talk about it and then do it and then come back and show you. So I pretty much always start from the center of my lid and then go out. Not too far because my eyes are slightly different shapes, and if I go fully out with the wing that I want, and then I do the same thing on the other side, they're going to be crooked. So I start with just a little bit along the corner of each eye, and then I usually bring it in just so that if I'm looking straight ahead, the eyeliner will end right where the iris ends. So it just kind of curves in really nicely. It doesn't go all the way to the corner of my eye unless I'm trying to do a super narrow-eyed character. And then I kind of fill in the wing from there. So let's go ahead and do this. Starting from the center, I just pull it out. The hip dot is actually super thin to the point where if I just go straight, you can see, excuse me, it doesn't actually hit my eyelid all the way from where I'm drawing it. So I'm going to have to actually go in and fill it with probably the thicker end just a little bit. I never use the thicker end to draw the eyeliner on, but it works pretty well for filler. So this just kind of helps me draw the general shape. As you can see, I started from a little bit further in than the middle of my eye, and then I'm going to go ahead and finish it up after getting the other side kind of started. So there you can see both sides have been started there. This eye actually has it a little bit higher up, so I'm probably going to raise this one a smidge more just to make it nice and even and to prevent it from looking super awkward and weird. I'm going to go ahead and fill in the bit closest to my lash line here. Do the same thing on the other side. Again, as you can see here, they're fairly even. I never try for absolute perfection because I would drive myself bonkers trying to get there. So I just go for something that looks really good together. If it's not perfect, whatever. I mean, I'm not doing this professionally. I'm not trying to make it an absolute perfect look. I just want something that looks nice. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and kind of flare out a little bit of a wing at each corner, starting from the bottom corner of my eye and bringing it up just a little bit. I don't want a super dramatic look for Alina, so I never bother with a huge wing. Other characters that I have that are a little bit more dramatic as characters will get bigger wings, different shapes, but this is a pretty standard eyeliner for my eye shape. Okay, and there you can see I gave myself a little bit of a wing, as well as continued that eyeliner down along the corner of my eye. It's not super smooth just because of the way my eye wrinkles, but that's fine by me. It looks really nice both close up and from afar. It just helps really widen up the back of my eye and give it a little bit more of an upturned look. So let's go ahead and do the other side. One thing I always notice when I'm doing this is that if I just go in immediately and just be like, okay, this is good. It's very obviously uneven here. So somehow with my left eye, I can always get a nice smooth kind of transition out into a wing. And on the right eye, it requires a little bit more time just to help smooth out those lines. But the general size is there. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my pen in to smoothen out, especially right underneath here. And then when you close your eye, that bit there. Perfect. As you can see, like I said, it's not perfectly smooth. It's not perfectly even. This eye here, my right eye, is a little bit chunkier than the left, which is a little bit more delicate. But it honestly doesn't bother me all that much. It's a subtle kind of difference. So I just roll with it. And now let's go ahead and finish just filling in that eyeliner along the inside. And there you have it. So that is the eye. I'm actually, because I do my eyeliner with my eyes closed, this side is a little bit thicker here, but it's not really anything I want to worry about. Or do I? Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and just take it in a little bit more, just because with how thick it is, it kind of makes my eye look a little chunky and a little weird. And there, much better. So now you can see how it tapers in, and it does make my eyes look a little bit more even, as opposed to if I had just left it starting really abruptly like that. It's just really hard for me to get my right eye. I'm really, really good at doing makeup on my left eye. The right eye is always a little bit funkier, but it's whatever, you know. I'm still learning. I've been doing this for a long time, but makeup's never been my strong point. Okay, so now after that, I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of this Studio Liquid Liner from NYX. This is lovely bright gold. It's really fun because this actually, when you're done with it and you are taking off your makeup, you can almost peel this off in one thin line. It just goes on so thick and so perfectly. And I'm not going to be doing too much with this. I'm going to go ahead and take it a little bit underneath and a little bit on top just to kind of outline the black. Just for fun. And it's this super thin brush, so I'm actually very careful whenever I use this. I don't use a lot of brush liners purely because I have a fairly shaky hand. I don't have a very stable hand, and so I try not to use too much of this at any point. You don't need to worry too much about it being hugely messy. So here you can see on the right side, or left side, excuse me, what I have done with it. A little less on the bottom, again, because of just how my eye creases naturally, but I got a nice smooth line on top there. And now I'm going to go ahead and repeat on the other side. I actually covered a little bit of the wing corner on the right side there, but it actually helped even out the look a little bit more, so you can kind of see where it has overlapped the black, but it's not super obvious. And from far away, it actually just makes it look a little bit more even as far as the shape of the eyeliner. So I'm going to go with it. This particular liquid liner isn't super noticeable, especially not in pictures. In pictures, if the light hits it just right, it's just this beautiful flash of just something a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more fit for the sun summoner. So that covers the eyes. Because this liquid liner is literally so, like, it's liquid, it's not like the felt tip that I used. I'm going to go ahead and just give it a few seconds to dry here because I don't want it to rub off on anything. Water break. This is largely why I always save my lips till last, is because I'm constantly drinking water throughout the process. And I don't want to get lipstick all over my nice water bottle. Okay, so next up is going to be my highlighter. My go-to highlighter is a diamond highlighter from Too Faced. It's just so good. But for this one in particular, I'm going to be using Aurora from Anastasia Beverly Hills again, because it has two goldish tones. So we have Lyra here, this is really nice and bright, and then we have Eclipse here, which, if you're a fan of Shadow and Bone, is kind of a funny term, just given the darkling symbol. So I'm going to be using a little bit of both. I'm going to go in pretty thick with Eclipse, just covering this entire location basically, as well as just under my eyebrow. And then I'm going to take Lyra and hit it a little bit harder just through right there. I firmly believe that there's no such thing as too much highlighter. Other people may disagree with me. My roommate and my wife disagree with me sometimes. But hey, I'm like, as long as you like it, go for it. It's just a look that I have always loved, is that really nice, sparkly, fairy-like makeup. Again, because Alina's wig, the way it sits, I probably don't have to go that high, but I personally like the way it looks, so that's what I'm going to do. And I have to turn to face my camera, or my mirror, a little bit just to fade it out a little bit more. So you can see there, I have to get really close. You can see it just kind of curves around my eye socket. A lot of the makeup I do has just been from trial and error. You know, I'm not the type to really follow a bunch of tutorials because I'm not very good at adjusting. So if someone is doing a look that's really built around having a long, narrow face, I'm not going to know how to adjust that properly to my personal face shape. So I'd rather just play around with it. You know, I have days where I do my makeup and I absolutely hate it, and then I know, okay, well, I'm not going to do that again. Okay, so that covers Eclipse on both sides. Now we're going to go in with Lyra, which is just this lovely gold. And the camera just kind of picks up as a little bit of brighter glitter here. In the mirror, it'll be a little bit more obviously gold. I'm also trying this ring light that I have, and I'm not sure if the color setting is perfect for this particular look, but I will be inserting some final photos afterwards as well, just so you can see how it looks kind of out in natural lighting and all that stuff too. And then I forgot to do the eclipse under my eyebrows. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And it just adds this nice little addition. Really gives me more space under my eyebrows. Just like that. So that's the bulk of the face so far. Nice and sparkly. Just go ahead and add a little bit of eclipse just along the nose and the chin. I don't really do through the forehead or anything like that. Not because I have overly greasy skin or anything, but I don't want it to look overly highlighted, especially because I have a super small forehead because I have a widow's peak. You can kind of see it peeking out there. And because of that, if it's not a lace front wig or a wig that's been specifically, ventilated, there's the word, ventilated to match my hair shape, I have to wear the wig super low, and so I don't want to bring any further attention to the fact that I have a super low forehead if I'm trying to cover the fact that I have a widow's peak. I actually just recently purchased a wig for Nina, also from Shadow and Bone, and specifically a Six of Crows duology. Beautiful lace front. Definitely going to have to ventilate it a little bit because otherwise it looks ridiculous being worn super low on my forehead. So that'll be a fun project coming up for me. Okay, so with the bulk of that done, I'm going to go ahead and let myself begin. So one of the things I'm trying this time that I didn't do last time was I'm actually going to be using a little bit of white mascara along my eyebrows as well as my my actual eyelashes, just because it wasn't something that had come in the mail before my previous photo shoot, and because of what happened to Alina with her hair becoming white, I think it would be kind of fun to play around with that and do that with mascara as well. But what I'm going to be doing is actually taking my Goof Proof brow pencil from Benefit, and I'm actually going to be going under a little bit to give it a little bit of a brown base before I actually add in the white, just so that it's not, I don't know, I just think it'll look a little bit better having a light colored brown base underneath it as opposed to just straight on the white. And what I like about this pencil is that it has the nice angles, which allows me to give a good bit of color here and shape my eyebrows around where I've shaped them without it having to be super duper dark, which would look really, I mean, it looks really cool with white hair, I think, but for this specific look that I'm going for, it definitely needs to be on the lighter side of things. It just adds a little bit of shadow there, just enough. And now I'm going to go ahead And this is actually a mascara that I'll be using actually on my eyes as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do it there first, and then I'm going to go ahead and take it to my eyebrows, just because safety. Eyes can be super sensitive and get infected very easily. And this way I'm avoiding that, and I can actually rinse off the mascara brush before I use it again to prevent any kind of bacteria from getting in my eye from there. Let's go ahead and curl these bad boys. Okay, I actually have to do this in the mirror. I cannot get quite close enough to the camera without it being like spooky. Okay, those have been curled. And now this is the Aquacolor hair mascara. I ordered it in with my Nina wig actually, so it's from Arda. I never used it before, but I've had my eyes on it for a little while. So let's go ahead and see how it works, shall we? So not bad, actually. I kind of like it. It doesn't give your eyelashes a super huge coat of white. This is just because I went over it a couple times here just to kind of help separate my eyelashes, because my eyelashes like to clump together. And this particular kind of brush isn't optimum for separating out my eyelashes. That's actually kind of cool. It looks like I'm wearing falsies. A part of me wonders if I should go ahead and go back through and kind of recurl them a bit. So maybe after the mascara is dried, I'll go ahead and try that just to see if I can get them up and out of my eyes. I definitely think I would like this more if it was a different brush. Like I said, this one is not optimum for my specific type of lashes to get them not super clumpy. But not bad overall. Go ahead and let those dry, and then yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go in again with my curler just to see if I can get some more lift at the base to really get them up and out of my eye, because otherwise, I mean, it is kind of a cool look, but I'd rather them be up and out of the way. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add along my eyebrows. It's almost like a frosted look. The trick is I don't want to go completely white with them, because that would look a little uncanny. So I'm just very lightly taking it and running it along the top of my eyebrows, and kind of using it as like a gel to shape them as well. Not entirely sure if I'll do this look again for Alina with the white eyebrows. Need to go ahead and smooth them out a little bit more. But it's fun to try new things, you know, even if it is for a couple of photos. If you decide you don't like it, I'm sure someone's gonna like it and think, oh hey, that's a really cool technique. Maybe I should try that for my costume that's coming up. Okay, so that'll be good for the eyebrows. Again, I wasn't trying to get them completely white. But I think especially with the wig, that this is going to help really kind of bring it all in together. Just kind of make it a little bit more eerie almost with her having white hair. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take my curler again and see if I can very carefully shape around the mascara and get it nice and curled out of my eyes. Okay, yeah, that actually worked a little bit. Still not super up and out of my eyes, but it does the job. I'm not stressing it. In case you can't tell, I'm very laissez-faire about the whole thing. I'm not, like I said, I don't want to take everything off and do it all over again. And if I don't hate it, then it's fine. And I don't hate it. I think it looks rather cool. So we're going to stick with it. One last water break. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and use, it was actually really hard for me to pick a lipstick color for Alina because I didn't want anything super bright. I didn't want anything super pink or peachy. Nor did I want anything very like vibrantly red. So I have this Marc Jacobs color. It's called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. It's a lip cream and it's a little sample. I think my grandmother gave it to me. And it's this really pretty, almost mauvey red. And it actually works really, really well for Alina, in my opinion. I have really thin lips naturally, and a really big mouth. My mom and I actually joke, because she has thicker lips than I do and a smaller mouth, that our lips got switched somehow. But because I have such a small, thin lip, I try really hard not to I try not to overline. I try not to make it look like I want bigger lips, insofar as overlining and making it look artificial. And because my lips are so thin, it wouldn't look right. You know, if I gave myself these huge lips, it's just not something I want to go for. I'd rather embrace the thinner lip that I have, than try to make myself look like I have something that I don't. I'm just gonna dab this really quick. Take off a little bit of color here, but there's still a lot left. Oh, delicious taste of toilet paper. Just a little bit there to kind of dim it down. And so there you have the bulk of the look. I am going to go ahead and add in just a little bit of lip gloss, because again, can never have too much sparkle. And this one is LA Colors. It has a pretty little pink gold shift. It's not super obvious. It's also not super sparkly. It's very much just like a gloss. But it's just enough for that little final touch there. So here you have the face, a little bit of contouring, lots of highlighter, gold base eyeshadow, and I'm just going to go ahead and give it a quick spray so that it doesn't go anywhere. I actually love the smell of this. It's Makeup Forever, which I think is just like Sephora's brand, or it's just a cheaper brand, but it's incredible. It smells so good, and it allows me to seal my face without it being tacky and feel super heavy. Okay, well, thank you so much for following along with my makeup look. If you stick around just for a little bit, I'll go ahead and come back shortly here with a full makeup, plus wig, and probably not the headpiece, because that thing can be a little tricky getting through doorways. But I'll go ahead and come back, show you my wig, show you how it looks with the whole thing properly put together, and then I'll include some photos at the end of the full look. So thank you so much again. I really appreciate you sticking around for this. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon.